Hey everybody, my name's Mike. Welcome to the first episode of The Rundown. This is a show where we're going to look at different aspects, different topics of pop culture. What you may not realize is that pop culture literally influences every single aspect of our daily lives. It's the movies we watch, the TV we watch, the technology we use. It's the games we play, the books we read, the food we eat, the cars we drive. It's everywhere. It's in everything we do. So what we're going to talk about in this first episode is the history of the Foo Fighters. And I'm sure everybody's aware that March 25th this year, Taylor Hawkins, the drummer for the Foo Fighters, sadly lost his life while they were on tour in South America promoting their latest album. And a lot of people are wondering, what's the future going to hold for the Foos? Well, we're going to talk about that. But first, here's the rundown on the Foo Fighters. When we talk about the Foo Fighters, we have to talk about where it all started, with Nirvana and Dave Grohl. Dave joined Nirvana in September of 1990, and their landmark album Nevermind was released in September of 1991, almost a year to the date of Dave joining the band. And we all know the story about Nevermind. It was a huge commercial success, with massive radio airplay and videos on MTV. Yes, they used to play videos on MTV. Now this is kind of important, so pay attention. After the release of their follow-up album, In Utero, the band hired guitarist Pat Smear, formerly of legendary Los Angeles punk band The Germs, as a touring guitarist. Then the music world mourned. On April 8, 1994, Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain tragically committed suicide. After Nirvana disbanded, it was rumored Dave might join Pearl Jam, and he later performed with Tom Petty on Saturday Night Live, receiving an offer to join his band full-time. Can you imagine if Dave had become a heartbreaker? Dave decided to do something different. In October of 1994, he entered a suburban Seattle recording studio and recorded tracks for an album. He played all of the instruments and sang all of the vocals. Foo Fighters, the self-titled debut album, was released on July 4th, 1995. Dave rounded out the new band with former Nirvana guitarist Pat Smear, and he also recruited bass player Nate Mendel and drummer William Goldsmith, formerly of Seattle's Sunny Day Real Estate. Following several months of touring, the band went back to the studio to record a follow-up. After the band recorded the rough tracks, Dave did extensive re-recording in Los Angeles and replaced much of William Goldsmith's drumming with his own. William was asked to stay on and support the band for touring, but he refused and left the band. Dave contacted Alanis Morissette's drummer, Taylor Hawkins, asked him if he knew of anyone interested in joining the band. Taylor jokingly said he would join the band. Dave took him up on the offer. The Foo Fighters' long-awaited follow-up, The Color and the Shape, is released on May 20th, 1997. Citing exhaustion and burnout, Pat Smear leaves the band later that year. Eager to fill the void left by Pat, Dave hires former bandmate Franz Stahl from Scream to join the band. As the band begins writing for the next album, creative differences lead to Stahl leaving the band, and the Foo's next album is recorded solely by Dave, Nate, and Taylor. There Is Nothing Left to Lose, released November 2nd, 1999. The Foo Fighters auditioned several guitarists to replace former member Franz Stahl, and decide on Chris Shiflett, formerly of California punk band No Use for a Name. At this point they began recording again, but things felt off. Infighting and disagreements led to a hiatus, with Dave joining Queens of the Stone Age for recording and touring. On the verge of a breakup, both the Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age are slated to perform at Coachella. Their performance at Coachella solidified the bandmates, and they decide to scrap the recordings of their recent studio album and start fresh. One by One is released October 22nd, 2002. The Foo Fighters embark on a world tour lasting more than a year and a half in support of the new album. The Foo Fighters return to the studio and decide to record a double album featuring half acoustic tracks and half rock. In Your Honor is released June 14th, 2005. In support of In Your Honor, the band organized a short acoustic tour in the summer of 2006. Skin and Bones, a live album and concert video showcasing the acoustic tour, is released on November 7th, 2006. Stop right there. Not only is it an amazing live album with an incredible performance by the Foo Fighters, it also features performances of many of their acoustic tracks from In Your Honor, and it also reimagines some of their great hits like Big Me, Times Like These, My Hero, and Dave doing a really awesome solo performance of Best of You and Everlong. Check it out. After finishing up an ambitious world tour, the band returns to the studio and records quite possibly their greatest album at this time. Echo Silence, Patience and Grace is released September 25th, 2007. The Foo Fighters begin a huge world tour in support of Echo Silence, Patience and Grace that takes them everywhere. The United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. During this time, former Foo's guitarist Pat Smear confirms he is rejoining the band full-time. In June of 2008, the Foo Fighters are invited to play Wembley Stadium. They play host to a crowd of 86,000 screaming fans. The Foo Fighters are joined on stage by Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin, where they play classic Zeppelin tracks like Rock and Roll and Ramble On. During their final performance of the evening, the Foo Fighters play Best of You. Taylor is seen completely awestruck, and Dave visibly breaks down on stage, brought on by the overwhelming reaction of the fans in attendance. The Foo Fighters hire legendary musician and record producer Butch Vig to record their next album. In August of 2010, the band begin recording. They record the album in the garage at Dave's house, using traditional analog equipment. Wasting Light is released April 12th, 2011. The band embark on another huge world tour. In 2013, the band reunites with producer Butch Vig and begins to record their next album in a very unique way. The band hits the road and records 8 different songs in 8 different cities at unique studios. They put together the next album along with a documentary series that airs on HBO. Sonic Highways is released November 10th, 2014. In May of 2015, the Foo Fighters are the very last musical performer on The Late Show with David Letterman. In June of 2015, Dave falls from a stage, breaking his leg. The band continued to play while Dave received medical attention. He returned a few minutes later and finished the show while a medic continued to work on him. In November 2015, the Foo Fighters released the free EP, Saint Cecilia, also announcing they would be going on indefinite hiatus, causing rumors of a possible breakup. In March of 2016, the band releases a mockumentary about Dave leaving the band for a solo career. Done solely as a joke, the video ends saying, "We're not breaking up and nobody's going solo." Their newest single, Run, releases in June of 2017, and they confirm keyboardist Rami Jaffee is an official member of the group. They release additional singles for their upcoming album, The Sky is a Neighborhood and The Line. Concrete and Gold is released September 15th, 2017. In October of 2019, the Foo Fighters announced they are recording their 10th studio album. In February of 2020, Dave announces that the new album is complete, but that it will be delayed indefinitely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In early 2021, 3 singles are released ahead of the new album: Shame Shame, No Son of Mine, and Waiting on a War. The Foo Fighters' 10th studio album, Medicine at Midnight, is released February 5th, 2021. In July of 2021, the Foo Fighters, under the name The Dee Gees, release an album of covers by the Bee Gees and Andy Gibb, titled Hail Satin. In October of 2021, Foo Fighters are inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Sir Paul McCartney. In February of 2022, the band releases a comedy horror film called Studio 666. In the film, the Foo Fighters attempt to record an album in a haunted mansion. Dave is possessed by a demonic spirit, and the band members are killed off one by one. Don't take this film seriously. It is a comedy. On March 25th, 2022, Taylor Hawkins died in his room at the Casa Medina Hotel in Bogota, Colombia. The Foo Fighters were scheduled to perform that night at the Stereo Picnic Festival as part of their ongoing South American tour. The festival stage was turned into a candlelight vigil for Hawkins. A few days later, the Foo Fighters cancel all remaining tour dates. On June 8th, the Foo Fighters announce a pair of tribute concerts to Taylor. The first concert to be held September 3rd at Wembley Stadium in London. The second to be held September 27th at the Kia Forum in Los Angeles. Both concerts showcased performers from different genres, paying tribute to Taylor, with proceeds going to the Music Support and Music Cares, 2 music charities chosen specifically by the Hawkins family. What more can you really say about a band that's been around for 25 years? They've done it all, released album after album, won numerous awards, but what happens now? A lot of people are really wondering what they're going to do. How much time do they take off? Do they continue to tour in the future? Here's another possibility, so hear me out. They hire a new drummer, they make new music, and continue to tour the world. But where do they start? So let's talk about the possibilities. Obviously, everybody's talking about Shane Hawkins, Taylor's son. But we'll come back to that. Here's some other possibilities, but this is strictly my opinion. Rufus Taylor. He's an obvious choice. He's an amazing drummer. He's the son of former Queen drummer Roger Taylor. But currently, he's kind of tied up with the British rock band The Darkness. So that's probably not going to happen. Alright, it's dinner time. Jason Bonham. Bet you didn't think about that one. He's the son of Led Zeppelin drummer John Bonham. He is a drumming god. He's also an absolute musical genius. He's an obvious choice, and he would mesh well with other members of the band. Travis Barker would be an amazing addition to an already stellar pop rock lineup. He's a very high energy drummer. He could record and tour at the Foo Fighters if he wasn't already committed to Blink-182 and additional recording and touring solo projects as well. Almost done. Chad Smith. Probably another choice that would almost likely never happen. Don't get me wrong. He's an amazing talent, and he would match the energy of the Foo Fighters. But he's always touring and recording with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So probably not. Have you ever ate something that you really wish you wouldn't have ate? Yeah. Back to the stuff about the drummers. So I'm going to tell you a little story about a guy named Josh Freese. Do you know who he is? If you don't, you should. He played at the Taylor Hawkins tribute concert in Wembley. He was actually the most featured drummer, the most featured guest drummer throughout the entire show. I mean, seriously, do you know what this guy has done? He is amazing. He knows how to play and he plays hard. He's worked with everybody. He's a member of Devo and the Vandals. He has recorded, worked, or toured with Guns N' Roses, A Perfect Circle, Nine Inch Nails, Sublime with Rome, Infectious Grooves, Suicidal Tendencies, Mike Ness, Social Distortion, Good Charlotte, Evanescence, Ashes Divide, The Offspring, Static X, Sting, Lost Prophets, The Replacements, Black Light Burns, The Hollywood Undead, 311, Daughtry, Weezer, Bruce Springsteen. Not to mention, as I said before, he was the most featured drummer during the Taylor Hawkins tribute show at Wembley. Give this guy a job! Sorry, almost lost my cool there. What about Cindy Blackman? Nobody ever talks about her. She is an excellent drummer who would fit in well with the band, but she always has a lot of solo engagements and other projects that she's working on, and that would probably hold her back from being a full-time member of the Foo Fighters. So now we're going to come back and talk about Shane. Yes, he is an amazing drummer for what little we've actually seen of him. Given some time, he could definitely be somebody that could fill his dad's spot in the band. Don't get me wrong. At the Wembley show and the show in Los Angeles, he killed it. At Wembley, he played My Hero. He absolutely destroyed it. He was amazing. It was like it was his dad sitting there. At the LA show, same thing. He played My Hero and I'll Stick Around. Flawlessly. He was absolutely perfect. But you need to look at the obvious things here. He's still a kid. He's still a kid in high school. He still has a lot of growing up to do. Granted, a lot of musicians start bands when they're at his age, but are they instantly propelled into a band like the Foo Fighters, a band with a 25-year history? Why would you want to subject them to the same thing that is probably responsible for his dad's death? Give him some time to perfect his craft and make sure that this is what he wants. He should not be forced into this or made to feel like he has to do it. Like I just said, don't pressure this kid unless it is something he absolutely is ready for. Let him finish growing up. So there you have it, everybody. That's the rundown on the Foo Fighters. I really hope you enjoyed this first episode of the rundown. If you have any suggestions on future topics or anything else you'd like me to cover in the world of pop culture, leave me a comment on this video. I'll do what I can, and I'll see you next time on the rundown. Stay tuned, everybody.